Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.
Welcome everyone to our show. Our sponsor this week is Johnson's Brand Snow. For year-round snow, there's no snow like Johnson's. And now, heading into our top stories. The Westminster Frog Show began this week. Frogs from all over the globe will compete for title of Greatest Frog. Last year's winner was a tree frog named Sebastian, and he hopes to double down on his victory this year. Jordan?
That would be an amazing victory. I know I'm cheering for him. In other news, scientists are becoming increasingly concerned about a recent change to the game of basketball. One scientist that we recently spoke with, whose name cannot be reported due to legal reasons, said that innovative changes to the game, such as players being allowed to have springs for feet, while they will increase ratings, are actually going to harm the game of basketball.
I've also actually heard that the floors of the courts will suffer quite severely under this new scheme.
I know they use a special kind of polish. It's sure to get scratched up.
Absolutely, especially if they make those springs out of metal. Well, moving to some celebrity news now. Famed giraffe, Jack the Giraffe, has finally gotten his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's right, Jack has acted in more than 500 movies starring giraffes, and he's even taken on a few human roles that you might not suspect. Did you know, Jordan, that Jack actually played the role of Darth Vader in Star Wars?
I did not know that, and I'm a huge movie fan.
Well, it's true. He'll be putting his hoof prints into the ground in front of Mann's Chinese Theater tomorrow.
Amazing. I look forward to that celebration. Jack the Giraffe. In other news, fuel prices have skyrocketed across the nation. Witnesses informed us that due to the recent increase in prices, all air travel will now be conducted through the use of hand pumps inflating blimps used to carry passengers from one destination to another. A spokesman that works at the airport argued that crucial witnesses have concluded that sources may not yet be confirmed.
Well, I just want to slide in here, Jordan, and say I have actually taken one of these bike pump blimp flights. And it was a very pleasant flying experience. Despite the fact...
You had to inflate the blimp yourself?
Yes, that's correct. Me and the 300 other passengers on the blimp were required to inflate it before we boarded. And we were not even given food once we got on. But it was more than made up for by the abundant orange juice.
Breaking news, we can reveal that it was more than made up for by the abundance of orange juice. Dan?
Well, turning to some more startling news now. In the world of crime, snakes have been spotted slithering around town carrying handguns. Yes, snakes, both venomous and non-venomous, are now carrying even more deadly weapons. This has resulted in an uptick of over 500% in snake-related fatalities. Even snakes once thought to be harmless to man are now a real threat.
Wow, I know I'm scared.
The city's really breaking down. Just last week, I was attacked in my garden by a garter snake.
Wow. Well, if snakes are having guns, then I guess we're going to have to watch out for an even more dangerous predator than they are now.
Yes.
This just in. Breaking news. Without any warning whatsoever, the dog czar has informed us of a troubling change in relation to dogs. Dog sales have been, as you know, declining over the years as more people choose to stay home and adopt cats instead of canines. However, there's also been a direct correlation with the reduction of car accidents over time. What we can conclude is that while this may have no scientific bearing, clearly dog sales and car accidents have something to do with each other.
I've actually been tracking this trend for quite a while in my free time, unrelated to the show. And it seems that over the last 50 years, as dog sales have declined, less and less people are getting into car accidents.
Fantastic. I think the country is better off for it.
I do too. Absolutely. But we have some breaking news now I'd like to go to. Breaking news just coming in here, hot off the wire. The next rodeo that's going to be rolling through town is going to be a little different than you've seen in the past. Now, as you probably are aware, Jordan, most cowboys tend to ride on horses or stallions, bucking broncos or bulls. Well, this year I've got it on relatively good authority that cowboys will be riding on large dogs.
Well, Dan, you are our authority on cowboys and dogs, so I trust any news on those fronts that you'd be delivering.
A lot of
this
people
just
are...
in.
Oh, please, yes. This is more important than the last story, certainly.
Oh, no, a lot of people are horrified. I think we got the same news. Please continue.
No, Jordan, I want you to break this one. I've broken so much today already.
Breaking news. We have groundbreaking, exciting, exclusive information as it results to hot dogs. As many of you know, hot dogs are mad salty. But what maybe you don't know is that hot dogs may also be sentient. Due to revolutionary nude science, and yes, I said nude science, we're seeing an unprecedented increase in the amount of people claiming that their hot dogs are shouting out in pain when they bite into them. Now, I've eaten hot dogs before. Dan, you've eaten hot dogs, as I'm sure many of our listeners are aware.
Hot dogs are one of my favorite foods.
Have you ever bitten into a hot dog and had it scream out in pain and agony?
Not that I can recall. I mean, I've certainly heard screams of pain and agony while I've been eating hot dogs, but I never made the connection between the hot dog and the sounds.
Breaking news. I'm hearing now that hot dogs may just be mad thirsty for attention. I assure you, we will dig to the bottom of this story.
I will eat 500 hot dogs if that's what it takes. Well, I have some breaking news now, Jordan, that I'd like to share exclusively here on Breaking the News. For years, people have been taking their baths in simple bath water, maybe rubbing in some soap or other suds-producing material. But scientists now suggest bathing with Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I know what you're thinking, Jordan, not the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. No, simple Red Hot Chili Peppers that you can buy at your local supermarket. They increase the luster of the skin.
Well, that sounds like a skin regimen that I think would help people globally.
Well, as a matter of fact, Jordan, I have it on relatively good authority that you already bathe this way. Is that correct?
That's true, Dan. I take several baths a day, many of them with Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I know what you're thinking, but no, it's not the band.
Oh, I was thinking the band. Wonderful.
This just in. Breaking news. It's just come across our news desk. Ladies and gentlemen, you're probably familiar with the animal kangaroos.
I certainly am.
What perhaps you don't know is kangaroos have recently slammed humans across the country, saying that they're not taking good care of their children. Kangaroos are slamming them, they're blasting them. They're taking massive dumps all over people. And because of this, kangaroos have been put in charge of the National Child Care Program.
That's fantastic. I think this is a change that's been a long time coming. What better animal to take care of human babies than a kangaroo?
They have a natural pouch lined with a warm goo.
They have soft fur.
Soft fur, as you mentioned. Yes, all the qualities of a loving and caring parent.
We could go on all night about how suited kangaroos are to raise human children, but Jordan, I believe you have some stuff on our feature story of the night. Is that right?
I do. Breaking news. I am now bringing you our feature story of the night.
Feature story.
I'm here with our resident belt expert, Dan Moser.
Hello.
Dan is an expert when it comes to belts and all things to do with belts, and I'm here to ask him some hard-hitting, grilling questions about this amazing technology. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This is an exciting and exclusive interview that I'm happy that we were able to land. Now, Dan, you have a lot of knowledge about belts. Can you tell me a bit about the rust belt?
Well, the rust belt is a very specific type of belt made out of thin aluminum. You wear it around your waist as most other belts. However, when you would normally have an untarnished metal around your waist, The rust belt benefits from rust. So many
Outstanding.
companies are leaving their aluminum stocks out in the rain to rust up before they can ship them off to you, the consumer.
And is aluminum a type of leather that a belt would normally be made out of?
Many people think this. Whenever I tell people about this belt, a lot of people say, oh, that sounds like a really nice leather. No, as a matter of fact, it's not. Aluminum is actually a type of metal that can be found in many types of products, from belts all the way up to pop cans.
Amazing. The things you learn. And Dan, you're an award-winning person in the field of belts. You've written many books on the subject.
Yes.
What can you tell me about the Bible belt?
Well, this belt is very controversial. Now, this belt has every verse from the Bible printed out along its length. So it's more for a heftier gentleman, I think is fair to say. There's a lot of words in the Bible, Jordan, as I'm sure you're aware. And to get them down to a small belt just doesn't work. So a lot of people who are thinner are feeling very discriminated by this belt. They think, I should be able to wear a belt like this. It should be for me as well. But the makers of Bible belts worldwide have promised that they will never reduce the quality or size of the type on their belts.
It's quite the promise, and one that I know our listeners appreciate. Now, Dan, a singer can also belt out a tune. Is there
Yes.
any way that can hold up a person's pants?
No, this is a very common misconception in the belt community. Something that I'm often asked is about, can an opera singer hold up my pants? Or can Mariah Carey hold up my pants, for instance? And while they can physically hold up your pants with their hands, the singing that they do really doesn't need to be muddied up in the world of belts.
That's a fair
This one
point.
actually gets me really upset. I gotta tell you, it gets me really upset. Belts are something to be taken seriously. And this just trivializes it and muddies the water.
Well, muddy water is something that really irritates people, and I hope people have to experience as little muddy water as possible throughout their lifetimes.
Yes.
Now, Dan, there's also something called the asteroid belt. Does that have
Indeed.
anything to do with pants or keeping pants up on a human waist?
Well, a lot of companies want to harness this wonderful, wonderful natural resource that's hovering out there in space. It just seems like a natural fit for companies that are already making belts, but they're just very cost prohibitive. Only the wealthiest of wealthy have an asteroid belt that they can wear at home. Most of us have to enjoy it through a telescope from thousands of kilometers away.
A lot of scientists have theorized that if the asteroid belt were to disappear, that the galaxy's pants would fall down. Is that true?
I think more research is required there, but my own personal belief is that yes. Without the asteroid belt, the galaxy would be left with its pants around its ankles, kind of stumbling around awkwardly.
Of course, you have achieved groundbreaking innovation in the field of belts, and you recently were awarded the world record for largest belt ever made.
That's correct.
Tell us a little
yes.
bit about that.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Now, a lot of professional sports use a championship belt as their top prize, obviously. But what I've done is I've created a belt so cumbersome it is nearly unwearable by any human being.
That doesn't seem practical, but it's certainly an accomplishment to be proud of.
Oh, it is not practical at all, as a matter of fact. It is completely impractical. But it is a status symbol enjoyed only by the few elites.
Well, I, for one, am glad that they can enjoy things that we can't.
Me too. Me too.
Now, Dan, I have just a couple more questions because we're running out of time here on the show. But
sure.
a lot of people believe that Beltageddon is on the horizon. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, it has long been theorized that soon the world will run out of belt-making material. Soon, what is considered a belt will be just thrown into the air, and anything you can tie around your waist will be considered a belt. Some foresee that during this dark time, people will even use suspenders to hold their pants up. Now, I don't like to be a pessimist. I like to think that people are going to continue to wear belts, that even if they have to poke another hole in there to make it work, that they can do that. But I think it's something that people should be aware of. Hang on to your belts tight, folks. Hang on to your belts tight.
That's good advice. Our listeners should know we were one of the first news stations, in fact, the first news station to break news about this belt crisis. Now, Dan, my last question for you is kind of a personal one.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you, what exactly first got you started off in the belt world? What was your inspiration?
This is actually a pretty tough story to tell. But I'm going to share it exclusively here with you, Jordan. You won't hear this interview anywhere else. The thing that first got me into wearing a belt, like a lot of young people, I wore pants that didn't require a belt for a long time. Track pants, sweatpants, pajama pants, regular pants with no belt loops in them whatsoever. And I thought everything was fine. Then one day, a friend of mine and I were playing around near a cliff. He was wearing a belt in his pants. I wasn't. We both tumbled over the side of the cliff. Him getting his belt snagged on a branch kept him from falling off the cliff. I, however, wasn't so lucky. I hit the rocks below, and I'm not scared to say that I nearly died that day. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed. The belt from my friend wrapped around the wound of my body, keeping me intact. From that day forth, I couldn't deny the value of belts. I just couldn't do it anymore.
It's amazing, an amazing story. You're an inspiration.
Thank you. I've been saying that to a lot of people.
And now we go to our sports segment with Dan.
Excellent. Jordan, thank you for that beautiful segue there. That was quite an interesting interview you just did.
Thank you. I did literally zero research.
It did not show whatsoever. You came in there prepared. You really hammered that expert with some tough questions, and I think he'll walk away thinking it through a little bit more next time.
No, we're not afraid to ask the tough questions on this show.
That's very true. Well, let's jump to our sports section now. The first thing I'd like to say is a couple of scores that took place in the world of sports. In the 1946 Kentucky Derby, the horse Assault, ridden by jockey Warren Mertens, won the Kentucky Derby, with Spy Song placing second and Hampden coming in third.
It's amazing. Breaking news from the world of golf now. Lanny Wadkins has made the cut in the 1977 Masters Championship. This is a PGA championship. Lanny, of course, comes to the United States and scored a 76, 72, a 72, a 73 for a total of 293.
Wow. That's quite a score.
It is quite a score.
Wonderful. Well, I just have one more piece of information about the 1946 Kentucky Derby. This is breaking news here now. The location of that race was Churchill Downs, a track rated slow by the International Horse Racing Concern.
I think everybody should be concerned about international horses, not just the people with the Kentucky Derby.
That's a very good point, Jordan. More people could be activists for that.
Breaking news now. I'm happy to report that Julius Boros won the PGA Masters in 1968. Don January won the Masters in 1967. And this is just breaking news coming across our desk. Dow Finsterwald is the winner of the 1958 PGA Masters Championship.
Oh, darn it. Darn it. I shouldn't editorialize here, but I was really pulling for one of his rivals to win that. Well, I have some breaking news now. I actually have an interview with a prominent sports figure. Jordan Ward joins me today for a little bit of an interview.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Anytime. We always love having you on. Now, Jordan, I just have a couple of quick questions about the world of golf, because you're so well-versed in it. Now, I've heard that golf is played with a club. However, I've never seen a caveman playing golf. Can you explain this discrepancy?
Yes, I can, Dan. I'm happy to, for your listeners.
And for me, I'm confused.
Golf, as many people may know, they may not know, was invented by cavemen. In fact, the first golf ball was the skull of a small dinosaur that was hit while a caveman was just swinging his club at the ground, not even trying to play a game. The skull rolled into a hole, and the game of golf was born. However, scientists have found little to no evidence of a caveman using a golf club and took swift action to ban cavemen from the game should one ever thaw out. They would have an unrealistic advantage over the other players being the inventors of the game. And the people that run golf couldn't let that stand. So they took swift action to prevent it from ever happening.
Well, that's very interesting. I've heard there's been some other rule changes to golf over the years. For instance, I've heard that instead of putting a ball into a hole, before most of the golf course was a hole, and you were trying to get the ball out of it.
That's correct. That was how golf was played for several hundreds of years, until recent rule changes decided to invert the golf course, to have the ball be the end of the game rather than the beginning. Kind of what is the name on Uno? The reverse. The reverse card that you would play.
Well, that's very interesting. Well, one final question about golf here, Jordan. Why do they use a flag to mark the hole when like some sort of like firework or something would be far more visible?
Well, I'd like to see more fireworks in the game. As you know, Dan, I've been a big advocate of that. But flags are used to signal their surrender to other sports. The golf world doesn't want war with darts or baseball or football for that matter. So they are quick to preemptively surrender to any potential combat.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing your golf knowledge with us, Jordan. We appreciate that. We'll have you back again.
Oh, I hope so. Thanks for having me.
Back again. But for now, we have some breaking news. We're going to be going to the weather now with Jordan Ward. Jordan?
Thank you, Dan. When it comes to weather, I can confidently report to everyone watching this show that this year we are going to experience a cold snap followed by a heat wave.
Now, may I just ask, Jordan, why is it that cold snaps and heat waves? Seems like a lot more sassiness from cold.
Yes, it is sassy. We're expecting a very sassy winter this year, and cold does have a tendency to, as you say, snap, whereas heat is more of a gentle wave.
Yes.
It all comes down to air pressure. The cold brings in a cold front, as you know, and the cold front increases the amount of pressure. So as the cold gets under more pressure, it gets sassier and sassier, snapping at people. People say, "How are you doing?" People snap. It's an effect that carries on between, I would say, most of November into early March.
Well, I, for one, would love to see a decrease in pressure for the cold. This just in. Breaking news. This is just coming across my headpiece here now. Our meteorology team is telling us that the seasons will be reversed this year. Where summer once stood, winter will now stand. Oh, sorry, I'm getting more to this report. Breaking news. Yes, this will affect the entire southern hemisphere of the world. So where we will still be experiencing winter during the normal winter months here in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere will have their entire system flipped on its head.
Breaking news. As it pertains to weather, we have reports now of a large, big yikes rolling in on the northeastern front and a humid oof coming up from the southwest.
Oh no.
Should these two weather systems collide, it could be disastrous and lead to natural disasters.
One human interest story I'd like to share now from the weather. My grandmother, as you know, has long lived in a very snowy region of the world, and she has shoveled her walk.
Breaking news. We can now report that McWeather will be arriving in Canada this April.
Ooh, I've been looking forward to this. Do they have the touchscreen system where you can just choose what you want and not have to interact with anyone as well?
They do. It's going to be very convenient for fans of weather this year.
Wonderful. I'm a huge fan of weather. I actually have a poster on my wall that says weather with an exclamation point.
Oh, that's very tasteful.
I'll often stand in front of the poster just giving a thumbs up.
Breaking news, we have reports of what is being labeled Weathergate. It turns out that tornadoes have been spying on hurricanes for many years.
Well, hurricanes and tornadoes are natural enemies. One existing on land, one existing mainly on the sea. Could this be the apocalyptic weather event we've all been hoping will come? Only time will tell.
I hear that there's a lot of tornadoes out there this year that are best of breed.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. There's going to be some pretty serious hurricanes coming through as well, so it'll be really interesting to see the matchup when those two face off in kind of the final cataclysmic battle.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Dan, you've experienced a lot of weather in your life.
I have.
Have you ever had too much weather?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have. A couple of summers ago, you remember that summer, 2 summers ago, when the weather was just perfect throughout?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was too much.
It was a bit too much. I hope we never have a year like that again.
I need a little more tumultuous weather when I'm out and about. I want it to rain one day, be sunny the next day, keep me on my toes, keep me thinking. When the weather is just perfect all the time, it doesn't give me any incentive to pay any attention to the world around me.
Breaking news, we have reports of cloud front rolling in that's throwing shade across the Pacific Northwest.
The Pacific Northwest has just been hammered by shade clouds this year.
It really has. People are scrambling to find a solution. One person has suggested that we suck up the clouds with the world's largest vacuum.
Now, I've actually seen footage of this happening. The only danger is that the flow gets turned from suck to blow. Things could really go wrong.
End up with extra clouds rather than less.
Yes. Defeating the entire purpose of what we were trying to accomplish.
Well, I hope that day never comes.
Jordan, I'm getting breaking news now. We have reached the end of our show.
Oh, it's a shame.
Our producers are telling me in my earpiece that we've informed the people enough for this week, and that if we were to provide any more information, we risk kind of blowing their minds entirely.
Okay. Well, I think it's best we wrap up the program then.
Yes. I would
Be
like
sure
to tell you...
tune in next week when I will have an exclusive interview with a rabid lion.
And I would like to invite you to tune in next week when I break the news exclusively that horrible dictator Joseph Stalin is dead.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait for that news to break.
It's an exciting story. It's going to be really, really hard-hitting when people hear it, I think.
It's very exciting. I also heard that you have an interview with a man-eating shark coming up in the future. Is that true?
Well, I didn't want to give too much of this away, but yes, I do have a man-eating shark that will be on the program. We've arranged a tank, and I got to tell you, we'll work out the logistics, but I think he's going to be on your side of the studio for most of the interview.
Oh. Well, that puts me at ease, because I have zero fear of sharks, as you know.
I do know. And I'm deathly afraid of them.
Man-eating sharks, I am very, very afraid of. But just sharks, I'm fine with.
So that's all we have for you today from Breaking the News. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
Remember to stay informed.
And we're breaking the news.
And we're breaking the news.
One story at a time.
We're figuring out the sign-off. We'll figure it out.
Thanks for listening, everyone. This has been Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.